Alright, this video is going to be about what is consciousness versus what is matter. And Noam Chomsky is asked about consciousness quite a bit in regard to his linguistics research, because he's arguing that what defines humans is we have a hardwired genetic origin of thinking in the brain, and that he calls this consciousness. So he says that science has a very good idea of what consciousness is, and you can even find it in the social sciences, in high culture art, or what he calls high culture, but basically in psychological literature writing, Dostoevsky, Balzac, that kind of modern fiction classics. And Chomsky says the real issue is we don't know what matter is in science. And what he's referring to here, if you really study Chomsky, is the paradox that Newton arrived at when he developed the calculus, that gravity is action at a distance, and gravity as a force is defined just by the mathematics. And there's always a difference between making the measurement of a matter in mathematics and the actual mathematics. And so this problem was later discovered in quantum mechanics as the measurement problem, and that's the focus of Roger Penrose's research. So most scientists will say that relativity solved the problem of what Newton had discovered, because with relativity, gravity is no longer a force, and it's just a curvature of space-time. And because of the calculus, the curvature is a smooth continuum. And so that's good enough for most scientists, because they spend years taking calculus, and so they consider the calculus to be very effective and a good enough definition of reality. And that's for physicists. But if you're actually a professional mathematician like Roger Penrose, then you take logic more seriously. And so does Noam Chomsky, and he's actually worked with Penrose and Stuart Hameroff a bit through their consciousness conferences. And I think that's why Noam Chomsky's at University of Arizona now, because that's where Stuart Hameroff is also based, where his consciousness research is based out of. And so then basically with Roger Penrose, he's arguing that Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theorem shows that that the quantum measurement problem of physics is actually a problem of mathematics and logic, and that any axiom in mathematics is incomplete and inconsistent, and therefore relies on a basis of understanding that can't be expressed in mathematics. And Noam Chomsky's big point is this understanding also cannot be expressed in words. And so it represents an actual limit of science itself. And this was also explored by math professor Joe Mazur in his book on the Zeno paradox. And he asked me to review his book because he had also asked me to submit my music math research to the most read math journal. And this was before I had really studied noncommutativity, because I wasn't sure that math professor Alon Khan's was using music as a metaphor, because in science, music is often used as a metaphor for understanding based on resonance. And so when I discovered Alon Khan's lecture that had been posted on YouTube, called The Music of Shapes, then I realized that that was final corroboration that he wasn't being allegorical or metaphorical, but that my same concept in music theory was the exact same concept that he was arguing solves the quantum measurement problem and the understanding of what matter is. And so for most people, music is not that abstract because they're relying on singing with words, and so their brain is processing music mainly through the meaning of the words for singing. And in fact, when we look at the ancient history, the historians relied on singing, because when you are using frequency, then your brain is right brain dominant, and so there can be a holographic memory storage so that the words are much easier to remember when they're put to a melody. And we see this in music therapy with people recovering from strokes. They will rely on singing to learn to retrain their brain to speak, because the language is normally left brain dominant. But as psychiatrist Ian McGilchrist points out, the research has shown that genetically language is not based on the left brain being more developed, but actually it's based on the left brain inhibiting the right brain. So if there is a stroke of the left brain, the right brain can actually learn how to talk and rewire and even heal the left brain through neurogenesis, or the rebuilding of neurons in the brain. And so in noncommutativity, the concept of the calculus as the continuum has to be rejected at a fundamental level, and rather the foundation of reality is discrete, but that discreteness is the future and the past overlapping, so that time is not an external measurement done by a scientist as a construct of space in relativity, but rather time is an inner force that is listened to through logical inference, and it is modeled by the natural numbers that are discrete. So this is a reaffirmation of Pythagorean philosophy. And so then all matter is actually originally made of light as the self, as was known in ancient Greek pre-Socratic philosophy. And so the source of the light of the as matter is the hidden relativistic mass of light as a supermomentum due to reverse time and negative frequency. And this is what Roger Penrose calls negative resonance. And so that creates the proto-consciousness of the universe that he says is not random, it's indeterminate. And this is what Alain Connes, the mathematician, mathematical physicist, figured out, is that the non-commutativity of time and frequency is unobservable as an external measurement, and therefore it appears random to mainstream science. But in fact, it is the inner products of the matrices that are non-commutative in the math are actually based from music theory. And so in non-Western cultures, this was called yin and yang, or the three gunas in India. And it goes back to our original human culture. So Noam Chomsky now acknowledges that music is a likely source of human language. And this was a sort of a debate that had been happening with our British or English, or someone from the UK. I don't know his ethnicity, but the anthropology professor Chris Knight, who authored the tome Blood Relations, and the argument is that modern humans developed from a synchronization with the lunar cycle as a sex strike of women acting in solidarity as a group with